Good morning, everyone. Well, I'm walking to my usual spot. And because it's a big weekend, the campsite's full. They got up early to do all their maintenance and they chased the deer off, so I don't have anything to see this morning. That's all right. Well, for this weekend, I'm going to try to be a little lighter. One of the things that we do in this world is we try to better ourselves by conquering things. Whether we conquer a mountain, why do we climb mountains? Because they're there. Well, the sea has always been something that we've wanted to conquer. And they've taken boats around the world when they didn't even know if the world was flat or not. Some people said it was, some said it wasn't. So today's topic is surfing. We can surf the waters. I've always lived, until I moved to Georgia, I've always lived near the water, and I love it. But I tried surfing. I wore glasses then, and the two did not go together. They were either wet and I couldn't see, or they had fallen off. Of course, I had a strap on them. I couldn't see the waves coming, and they'd knock me off the board. So it wasn't something I stayed with very long. I'm going to go ahead and set up my tripod, so I'll come right back. But I used to watch surfing. It was a lot of fun to watch. It would have been more fun to participate. And of course, I've been to Hawaii, and I've seen the pipeline there. Or how do they pronounce it in Hawaii? Pipanini? All right. Be back in a second. Okay, I'm back. Camera's set. I'll do some scripture reads in a second, but when we try something like that, we're trying to see if we can be better than Mother Nature, if you will. We know it's all God, but I'm using earthly terms. We want to be stronger. We've always had competitions of some sort. The Greek invented the competition that we call the Olympics. Always competing, trying to make yourself better. That's a noble thing to do, as long as you do it right. Men should not be competing in women's sports. We are physically different. We should be able to do the same jobs, but physically we are different. Now, getting back to this, how many times did Jesus calmed the waters? He could tell the storm to just quiet down, and it would. Yet the earth was destroyed by a flood. And we're told that we're in the times like Noah. After the flood, they got their rainbow, but they were told that they would never be flooded again like that. Local floods, yes. We've had a lot of rain in some areas that have been flooded, but not the whole world. So we're getting to our surfing, and we've taken the term and we've applied it to something else. Surfing the web. It used to be a safe, fun thing to do. I don't recommend it anymore unless you've got a good constitution. You type in something that you think is innocent, and what you're going to get can be smut, porn, whatever. It's all out there for innocent eyes to see. Be careful with little ones. There are programs you can put on your computer that will track and filter what they see. It's being done to us all the time. Do it to your children as well, because they don't care. They want it corrupt. mankind. That's why they're trying to do all this trans stuff in school. If Satan can corrupt mankind, it's what he did before. It's what he does best, because he hates us, because he hates our Creator. You will never change that. So one of the things that the surfers like to do when they're playing, not necessarily when they're competing, is they used to walk out to the end of the board, put their toes over the end. It's called hanging 10. You've got nothing in front of you but whatever's left of the wave. And it could be a big one or a small one, it doesn't matter. It's got to be big enough to support you to get out on the end of the board. But that you're really pushing yourself. You're testing yourself. I lived for years on the beach. It wasn't until I moved to Georgia that I got landlocked. I try to visit the beaches close here, but there's really nothing. Probably the best beach close by here would be Myrtle Beach up in the Carolinas, but these aren't anything like the nice beaches of either Southern California or go down to Miami area. I used to love to surf fish. To stand on the beach and throw your line out. You have to have a bigger pole because what you might catch might be very big. Every once in a while you may catch a shark. Challenges. We love challenges. So I'm challenging you to get out and do something that challenges you, that improves you. We have gyms for exercise programs to keep ourselves fit. Out here, I have walking trails, and I do have weights that I can walk around with. You never forget to take care of yourself, but pushing yourself is something that makes you better. Safely, of course. Some people jump out of airplanes. I used to fly. I can't see jumping out of a perfectly good airplane, but I went through a jump school, so I know what it's like. I've done it. I've done pretty much anything I wanted to do, but always trying to find something new, something challenging. Well, God owns this whole world. He's put it here for us to have fun with and challenge ourselves with. Use it. And our new one, whatever it looks like, will be just as much fun and challenging. I'm quite anxious to see it. He feels the need to destroy this one because this one has been nothing but sinful man, Satan dominated. That's all going to end. There is an end to all this. That's the good part. But get out there and find something that you can do that's a challenge. Obviously, if you can do something for God and that combines the two. There are competitions that have spiritual ramifications. My friend Sean Astin created a group called Run Third. God, family, yourself. So go out and run. I used to run, not majorly, but I used to run. Before I had my knee surgery, a week before, I ran a 5K. Yeah, I had struggled through it, but I was going to do it because I didn't know if I was going to be able to run afterwards. Challenge yourself. It will make you better and make you stronger. If you don't challenge yourself, God will. And He may pick something that He likes that you don't, just to get you motivated. Okay. This weekend, continuing on from yesterday, we're remembering those that gave their lives in the service of their country, wherever they are, around the world. Now, in the United States, we celebrate Memorial Day or Memorial Weekend. Monday's technically Memorial Day. It's just a designated day to remember. We're also dealing with Sukkot, which is a Jewish festival of tents and feasts, and it's one of the times that they like to get together. It's relatively calm over there. Relatively. I mean, it's never perfect over there because they're surrounded by people that hate them. But it's relatively calm. That's going to change soon. We know that they've got at least one war coming. We know about the trials. All the things going on in Revelation have yet to happen, except for the Revelation 12 sign, which tells us that we're in that time frame. Who is that? They're going back up the hill. The crew came down to clean the restroom, make it ready for all the guests here this weekend. Like I said, we're full. This is the first big weekend, first school out weekend to have everybody get out. Now, I've seen kids during the week, last week, because some of the schools got out early. But there's going to be a lot of people out. They want to get outside and enjoy what God created. And you should do the same thing. You don't have to camp in a tent like I do. You can go in an RV. If you don't want to do an RV, they have Adirondacks, which are basically wooden tents. They build up a wood structure, put screen mesh around it, and you go with your sleeping bag is all you really need. Maybe a pad to sleep on. They also have houses you can rent. These are a little bit more pricier options, but they have them. Get a couple of families together and rent a house. You can get out and enjoy what God created. This is my backyard. Enjoy it. God created all these things. He created all those trees behind me. He created the grass. He created all the critters that are running around, whether they're big or small. He created all this. Very creative. He created us. Now, what you see is not what exactly He created, because we've been corrupted. And the flood happened because Satan came down and corrupted the DNA, basically. His angels sleeping with women on earth, creating a new creature, one that God did not like, one that opposed Him. That's why He flooded the earth. Talking with somebody about, well, the earth didn't really get flooded because it just rained for 40 days and 40 nights. Don't pull out of Scripture one verse and build a foundation on it. It specifically said that the earth was flooded. We may look at that in a bit. God can control everything that's going on. Now, my personal belief on how God did all this stuff, He doesn't wave a magic wand. I talk about this all the time. When He set up the beginning to the end, the Alpha, the Omega, A to Z in English, He basically set the entire timeline down and then sat back and let it happen. That's why He knows that on a certain date something's going to happen, because He already designed it and put it into motion. All the events, this is how knowledgeable God is. All the events that needed to happen to come up to a certain point. The flood was predestined into the world, into the universe. And He knew that at a certain time there was going to be a man in his family, Noah, that could handle that. Now, there was a flood. It wasn't just rain. Have you ever seen a heavy, heavy rain? Yes, it's a lot of water. It might flood a local area, but rain itself is not going to flood the earth. Massive biblical rain would be necessary, but even that's not going to flood the earth to kill people. You need washing waves. We ride on those surfing. the power in those waves is enormous. But yet, God put a barrier up for them. We're going to see that. He puts controls on everything. He sets something up, and then he puts controls on it, and we find a way to use it, to have fun with it. We climb his mountains that he created. But he created the mountains before we were here. All the stuff that we have as a history in the Bible is a history of how God created things from the beginning and allowed them to change going forward. We used to live close to 1,000 years. We don't anymore. Why? Because we don't need to. In God trying to reach these people and talk to them and help them, he realized that all we really need is about 100 years or less, depending on the location we live, things like that. This is our training ground. So we're down here to learn about God and his creation. Some people live a long time. Some people still find that their life on earth is very short. Even children die. God has a plan for everybody. So don't worry about that. And everybody knows about God. I don't care if you've never heard a verse of Bible read. People know about God. Just look at what they try to do. Now they get it wrong, but they're searching. You know, we have pyramids in Egypt, we have pyramids in South America. People searching and reaching for God. Even without the Bible, they know about God. Now, they try human sacrifices and stuff like that, which is not in God's plan. But the reason for it is they're still trying to please God. It's built into us. It's our nature to try to please God. So help it. We have education now. We have a Bible that we can refer to, carry around, go back and read over and over again until we program our minds with the goodness that's in here. But it's always been the case. We're going back thousands of years in the Bible. And people were searching for God then. And they couldn't please God, no matter how hard they tried, because we have a sinful nature. But God was tolerant and allowed them to keep failing. Take them back up and give them another start. That's a woodpecker. And he's on the other side of the river, so that's a big one. No matter what we try to do in life, we're never going to make it unless we include God in our plans. That's giving me a headache. Woodpeckers like dead trees because bugs like dead trees. And they get in there and they eat the bugs. God created that little plan there. Trees die, then they become a habitat for bugs. And that becomes a food source for another creature, a woodpecker. He planned all this out. He knows what he's doing. Trust him. Enjoy his creations. Surf. I haven't tried surfing since I've had LASIK, so I don't need glasses. I need my cheaters to read because I was wearing bifocals before, but if I put them on, it's strictly to read. It is such a nice, calm morning. Let me show you the water, and then I'll sit back down. And you can see the steam rising from the water. It's calm. That's one of the reasons I like this spot. I come out here to be with God first, and then with you. You have to calm yourself to be close to God. And you can still enjoy His creation, but you have to be calm. I've got a couple more days here. We're moving Monday, I believe, to another park that I've been to before. I'm kind of hovering around certain parks right now. One, because I'm familiar with them, I know what to expect. Two, because the parks I'm picking are cheap. I could travel, but they've raised the price of parks. Everything's going up. I would imagine eventually they're going to ban parks, ban camping. They're going to ban everything. They're going to basically lock you into a world that they have 100% control on. Satan wants that. He doesn't want God to be involved in anything. If Satan could kill God, he would. That's the hatred that he carries. And he passes it around the world through his followers. Don't worry, God's our protector and will take care of us, our shepherd. Shepherds defend the sheep against anything, including wolves. And a pack of wolves can be very ferocious, but they still fight them off. But this calmness that you can find is how you start your day. Calm. Don't start your day all flustered and worried about things. You're worried about things that you can't control. But God has already set the timeline down. He created everything from beginning to end, set the timeline down, and is watching things happen. He can come in and help nudge somebody one way or the other if we need it. If we start to wander off, he can push us back on the track. But if we're insistent, here, let us do what we want to do. He's a loving God. We need to be smart about that, though, and not go where we're not supposed to be. Now, I love exploring. That's one of the reasons I'm a big Star Trek fan. To boldly go where no one has gone before. No man has gone before was the original version of it. I love doing that. I love seeing new things. In this world, it's impossible to see something that hasn't already been seen, but to see something that I haven't seen. So I love doing that. That's one of the reasons I love camping. I see things different every day. I may go to the same park, I may go to the same seat, but I see something different every day, and I like that. We're going to have a whole new world to explore when we get through this. Help the remaining people that need help to find their way. That's all we have to do while we're down here. Help people find their way. Where? To God. And the only way to get to God is through Jesus. Plain and simple. You can't work your way to heaven. Now, if you're a good Christian, you should be working. But the work doesn't get you there. It's the salvation message that gets you there, accepting Christ. Throughout history in the Bible, they tried to get to God and couldn't. They tried to build a tower tall enough to get to God. He just confused them and they went off and left it. Doing what he originally told them to do was to scatter and fill up the earth. He just wiped everybody out in the flood. He wanted the earth repopulated. And that gave us the diversity. We have many different races around the world. And it's great because that gives us the diversity, exploring new people and new places. If we were all the same, it'd be very boring. Accept the change, the difference. It's good. Now, we're to love people, but not behavior. Always remember that. Okay, I'm going to get into my scriptures, which I haven't done yet. And we're going to start in Psalms. A lot of good Psalms. If you just need calming, read Psalms. If you want challenge, read Proverbs. They're right in the middle of the book. You can't miss them. Okay, I'm going to actually get to 29, but I'm going to start in 28. It's always important never to pick something out, but to make sure you have the context. Then they cry out to the Lord in their trouble, Psalm 107:28. And he brings them out of their distress. He calms the storm so that waves are still. We just saw that on our water out there. Still waves. The water is flat. Then they are glad because they are quiet. So he guides them to their desired haven. You know, we may surf on big waves, but you don't live in big waves. We prefer a nice calm waters. Now, we know what the waves are like on the sea, on the shore, but we're talking about lakes. The Sea of Galilee is where these fishermen worked, and God, or Jesus, would send them across on the lake sometimes, even by himself, and the storm was brewing, and he walked on water to get to them. He can control this earth, so don't worry about it. We're going to have earthquakes coming up. The Bible tells us. Don't worry. Don't worry, be prepared. Okay, now I'm going to turn, we're going to stay in the Old Testament. Turn to Jeremiah, the weeping prophet. I'm actually going to go back. I'm going to get to 22, but I'm going to go start at 21. So Jeremiah 5:21. Hear this now, O foolish people without understanding, who have eyes and see not, and who have ears and hear not. Do not fear me. He's reaching out to the world. Will you not tremble at my presence, who have placed the sand as a boundary of the sea? See, he even takes the sea, which can be very violent, and he puts a boundary around it by a perpetual decree that it cannot pass beyond it. And though its waves toss to and fro, yet they cannot prevail. Though they roar, they cannot pass over it. Everything God puts limits on. He puts limits on Satan. I have to remember what part of the phone to be looking at. The camera's at this end. So don't worry about anything. God has control. He always has control. Now we're going to turn to Genesis. We're in the middle of the flood story. We know that Noah was 600 years old, roughly. We're going to start in 7:17. And now the flood was on the earth 40 days. The waters increased and lifted up the ark, and it rose high above the earth. How high? The waters prevailed and greatly increased on the earth, and the ark moved about on the surface of the waters. And the waters prevailed exceedingly on the earth. And all the high hills under the whole heaven were covered. High hills. The water didn't cover the Himalayas. They didn't exist. The earth was flat, relatively. One great big island, some call it Pangaea. That's the earth that was flooded. The fact that there was no rainbow meant that they didn't see the sun. They didn't see anything but clouds. There was no rain. They had never seen rain before. Just the moisture in the air watered the plants. All the mountains were covered, and all flesh died that moved on the earth, birds and cattle and beasts and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, and every man, except those on the ark. So he destroyed all living things which were on the face of the ground, both man and cattle, creeping thing and bird of the air. They were destroyed from the earth. Only Noah and those that were with him on the ark remained alive. And all the waters prevailed on the earth 150 days. So it may have rained, quote unquote, for 40 days, but the water stayed, covering everything. Massive amounts of water and massive waves. If you're a surfer, can you imagine trying to surf on that? Well, you wouldn't have been able to survive it because they were extremely massive. Probably a wave 200 or 300 feet high. After this, they got to have a rainbow. More than likely, they were hit by something. Either a giant asteroid splashing all the waters up out of the ocean over the land, or maybe the moon collided. Maybe that's the time we're looking at. We're not looking at 6,000 years. We have 6,000 years worth of history covered, but there's some gaps. We have dinosaurs and we have a flood to account, and you couldn't put either one of those in the 6,000 years. God could have done that, but he's not a magic man. He's God. He created everything, and he told them what they needed to know. The 6,000 years that we have written history of doesn't include the gaps. You say, well, he doesn't do with gaps like that. He wrote it down like that. You know, we're in a gap now, aren't we? We haven't had the 70th week yet. We're in a gap. He uses gaps. The world will be destroyed one more time. Mankind will be destroyed again. He is selectively allowing people to find him. And in the end, we will all be together for eternity. We don't know how he did it. We've speculated. Science tries and fails repeatedly. Remember, science thought the earth was flat, that the earth was the center of the universe. Well, they learned, and then they adapted. If we had enough time down here, we would figure things out, but we're not supposed to. We're looking at the creation and not the creator. Focus on the creator. Okay, well, I hope you're having a great weekend. Be safe if you're surfing on water or surfing on the internet. Be safe. And we'll see each other in the clouds soon. We can see the earth. It is failing. All the things that we're seeing are failing. The Bible told us. So we're seeing prophecy carried out. So don't be afraid of it. He controls the sea and can calm it when necessary. See you in the clouds. God bless.